Good evening, and welcome to another edition of You Can't Make This Shit Up with the Alan Osborne Show. We're talking about politics in Walton County tonight and the trends across the nation, or why we're failing as a nation for some of this stuff. So, without further ado, I wasn't planning on making a show. I think I already told you my opinion of some things that are going on, but hell, it just keeps getting worse. And so for that, we're just going to have another show of a vote of no confidence for the Walton County BCC. On Monday, there's going to be an emergency meeting, I believe at 10 o'clock in the morning, that's been called by Danny Gladwell. But my understanding is, the chairman has to call it, is Danny's not the one that wanted the meeting. It was initiated by Tony Corbin. Now, my belief is that Tony has been directed by a lot of the old powerful group there of Shipman and Odom, O'Connell, and Clay, and Blue, and Mikey, and everybody else that doesn't want to lose control of the string on the sweater. They're scared but the BCC cannot fire somebody unless they work directly for them. So originally, it was spread around that Joe Turner would get fired, and we'll come back to that again. I've already addressed it one time. Like I said, I thought it was Quinn. So it'll take the BCC to fire Quinn, but he's not been here for 4 months. And who called this meeting and why? Well, my understanding is Tony Anderson called it. And let's think about this. Tony, it's Veterans Day, and I heard you call this meeting at Thursday, knowing that nobody would know about it before a long weekend, and it wouldn't be advertised well and whatsoever. But you have the right. I'm not saying you don't. There is a provision that lets the commissioner call an emergency meeting. This is a dire emergency because they're about to lose control of the string on the sweater, the infamous thread that makes the sweater come off. But Tony, I don't understand why you're doing it, because it may be to try to terminate people and catch people by surprise, because we all don't have an agenda. And all of us who watch the shenanigans around here going, what in the hell did that pop up for? But so, Tony, what are you going to do? And why did you do it? Because, Tony, you were against these kind of things, weren't you, Tony? Hey, Tony, let me give you a flashback in time of facts from the Alan Osborne Show and take you back in time down memory lane. Tony, when you was still cruising and grinning, you know what I'm saying, Tony, don't you? When you was just out there cooling it, just being one of the guys at the post office, being a commissioner, you came on here like, hey, that's not fair. But Tony, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll let you talk for yourself, followed by the opinions of Mr. McCormick, that you shouldn't be doing this kind of thing that we're about to do Monday. So without further ado, a trip down memory lane. Here we go, Tony. Of course, narrated by your favorite corrupt attorney that's conflicted, Clay Atkinson. That's the opinion of the
procedures, and that puts us in a good position to actually talk about what this board asked us to bring back. Had some conversations with the admin.
This is about the firing of Jay
this conversation, I think it will be helpful for both the members of the board as well as the public to understand an internal policy that is not memorialized, but is how we have done business in this county for quite some time. And that is because these books, and I won't pick one up for fear of injuring myself here, that there are massive board books that everybody has. Those have to be prepared well in advance. Our internal cutoff at admin is 11 a.m. Thursday morning before each regularly scheduled board meeting.
We didn't make that, so Tony called an emergency.
The administrative level of this county, we consider an add-on anything that comes after 11 a.m., which is the cutoff date where Ms. Cooper can prepare those board books, and that is simply a logistical issue. In looking at better ways to avoid what the board's expressed concerns were, our recommendation would be to memorialize that cutoff of 11 a.m. Thursday morning prior to each regularly scheduled board meeting, so that any agenda item received after 11 a.m. on Thursday morning prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting would be declared an add-on.
So this would be
an add-on. Step one. We think that should be memorialized in your policy. Step two, our recommendation to you would be that to the extent an add-on will be accompanied by some requested action, that the add-on item, whoever puts it forward, be it a member of county admin, be it the county attorney, be it a board member, be it a county department, would include a statement of the action to be requested on that agenda item.
Yeah, so if you did this,
Certainly,
Tony, what are
items
you
that are just for
doing on
discussion
this
don't
agenda?
need
We
that.
don't know.
Certainly, regular agenda items don't have to go through that additional hurdle. But this would be one way that the board could ensure that an item that gets added on, the requested information is known. Now, we've gone through all that. I want to point out one final aspect of this. You have adopted board policies for additions and deletions that spell out necessity, good cause, emergency. So certainly the board will have an opportunity at every meeting. You'll be taking action on every add-on that has an action requested twice, just like you do now, but it'll be memorialized. You'll be able to, one, approve the additions and deletions and understand what that requested action is. If the concern is the board, then discussion is appropriate, but action is not. That can be a discussion at the outset of the meeting of whether or not it's appropriate under the board's policy for add-ons to take action. If it's approved, it then goes on the agenda. It receives full public comment, board debate, and then a motion still has to pass by majority vote to take that action. So that allows what the ultimate action is to be spelled out. Admin, we had some discussions, and then Ms. Hina contacted Mr. Jones, and they had some discussions about the level of detail in terms of a synopsis of an item. To the extent that the board wants to put an item on for discussion or having a meeting like that, it's probably not good to have a book written about every item that's just discussion, because that's what discussion's for. But if we narrow it to that action requested, that would give the board that opportunity to lay that out for any department. If we're approving a contract, what is the approval? So that's where we're at, and that's what our recommendation will be. So if the board would want to approve one, setting 11 a.m. as a firm cutoff for agenda items, with anything thereafter received being deemed an add-on, and two, any add-on requiring action, having the requested action stated with the add-on submission, we would include that in your board policies, and we would have it back in your next board book. Yeah, motion. I would request as a motion, and then you don't have to see the document again, because it will be your policy from here on forward. Motion to approve.
Got a motion, need a second. Second. Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
So, way back when Larry was here, they made the rule. If you're going to call this meeting, you got to say why. If not, it's an add-on and all this other stuff. An emergency meeting, surely you need it. But what did Mr. Anderson say about that, and what drove this? This is what drove it.
Every time we go, it's time we teed up. So you got a motion to deny Commissioner Quinn? Yes. And we got a second, and I'm on support. You know, yeah, comment. You can go with comment. You want to talk some more? No, I feel about it. Yeah. Go ahead, but on the motion. Call for a vote. Now, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye to deny. Aye. Motion passes. We'll advise insurance counsel in the plan. Yeah. And we'll get it on the document. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I have to say. Commissioner Quinn, do you have anything? No, sir. Commissioner no, sir. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Anderson.
Chairman, just follow up on something that Lisa Johnson said. I think, especially in matters that are not of emergency pending, that we need to, if we add an agenda item late and it hasn't been notified, I think we need to, it's okay to bring it up, but we don't need to vote on it until the following meeting. I think the last meeting there, I've gotten tons of calls about
so whatever they're going to bring up on Monday,
not only why by the TDC director, but the fact that no one knew that was going to be on a matter brought up for discussion. So especially we have 3 directors that we control, that we can decide, this board can decide to fire. And if we're going to fire a director for any reason, then we need to have the public notified that that is going to be brought up on the agenda, and have them have a sense of their input.
So Tony has said, if we're going to fire somebody, that has to be on the agenda because we want to get some public input on that. If we're going to fire one of our directors, meaning the attorney and the county administrator, the TDC director, Tony says we should get input from the public, and we should have to tell the public that's what we intend to do. Not that ambush of Dee, ambush of people, that you should have to tell that of the people that they have to hire and fire as a board. So go on, Tony.
Whether we listen to their input or not, it still needs to be, they need to have an input on that. And I think that it keeps us in the not only the sunshine, but it keeps us in the clear as far as always wanting the public to know what we're doing. So I really think that we need to,
Tony says the public should
get
always
staff
know what the
to come up with
DCC
some
is.
ideas on how to do this, to word this, so that the public needed to be here at that meeting, and they weren't notified. And I've got a lot of irate people that are calling me, so I would make a motion to get staff to get some ideas from each commissioner on how to do this. And that's my motion.
All right. We got a motion, need a second? I'm going second. Got a motion second. Any comment? Any other? I'd like any commissioner comment? Go ahead. In this area, I've made myself publicly out there before on this issue when I was with the city council. And, I have no problem with last minute items for discussion. I don't have a problem with the commissioner coming up with something last minute, or a council member, hey, this is where I'm at, this is the direction I'm going, here's the heads up. But when we talking, I concur with Commissioner Anderson. There's a big difference between firing TDC directors and picking what color we're going to paint the wall.
There's
So,
a difference between
I would like to
people
see
and
some
small
different ideas on how to address this issue. Any other comment?
So that's Tony and Boots. We don't care about the guys that aren't commissioners anymore. But Tony was enraged that he put it under him that we should never do what happened with Jay Tusa. We did it again with Dee, so let's move on. About what's going on Monday, that's what Tony said. So we got this meeting, I guess a regular meeting later on. But here's the problem. The problem is we don't understand what they want, but I do. See, Tony and them have got to get the county administrator and assistant administrator out of there because they're starting to do their job. But they're being impeded by these people, and they want to, like Danny's scared to death that they can't control them. They're not supposed to. The county administrator and the administrators and leadership in the county are supposed to enforce the rules and ordinances and run things per the Constitution of the laws and officials appointed above them. But they're hindered by the word Atkinson most of the time. In fact, Clay tells the administrator and them that if you talk about something that we say is related, it's a policy, we won't pay your legal bills. Well, Clay, the people we're trying to talk to about the violations of law, they're not related to what your policy is. And I don't think you can have a policy that restricts elected officials from knowing the truth and following their duty and requirement to enforce the laws under the Constitution. Clay, I don't think any policy can override that requirement. But Clay, I mean, you're for sale, in my opinion. And the worst thing going on, we're paying you $500,000. What else is Clay doing? Adding more conflict to the county. Remember the Maxwell suit? Hey, Tony Anderson, do you remember it? Tony, while you're being all great and stuff, Tony, what about your aide? Wasn't Sarah the one that was carried naked in the Maxwell lawsuit? I'll read some stuff from that lawsuit in a minute. But Tony, Clay now wants to hire that firm that was suing the board. They did the same thing with Adams Homes. Emmanuel, Condon, and Shepherd were all hubbed up with the county on the violations in Driftwood and the Sandestin DRI. But when they walked away and the insurance got another firm, the county hired them. This is how it works. And this is why Clay does not want to give up this position of power and a $500,000 a year minimum pocket insert. It's crazy. Commissioners, in my opinion, Clay's conflicted on this, and you should consider alternate legal advice. Ye of little faith, he will get you in trouble. So what about the administrator? And what about the assistant administrator? These guys are brand new. And somebody said that this immigration thing with Turner is a racist issue. Let's talk about racist issues. And who wants the administrator job? Well, Barker wants it, and Danny wants it, and now Scott Brandon wants it. I mean, why? Because those are three people that they can control. The outsiders, the developers, the good old boys, they can control those people. Danny's admitted to people he's unelectable, or he's going to have to go back and coach ball because he failed. We saw his inspection of the jail. He ain't got nothing on, but what are they going to do? Make Scott Brandon the administrator? Let me take you back in time to when Scott Brandon had the NAACP out, because as a commissioner, he wrote emails joking about problems if anybody could help a nigga out. It was in the newspaper. Go look it up. And here's what Trey said. So that there was no accusations of racism while Trey was the chair of the county commission. Let me tell you something that he said. Okay, this is in the lawsuit. During the Maxwell lawsuit, and this is what the firm who Clay now wants to hire accused the county of. Okay, this is what they accused him of. Said the same commissioner. Here, I want to read it exactly from it. Let's see here. Make this thing do it here. Anyway, this it's being frustrating on me here. Okay, the same commissioner, meaning it was accused of this, Trey, engaged in inappropriate conduct towards Maxwell just day before Maxwell's unlawful termination by sending racially derogatory text messages to Maxwell and other county representatives. These were exhibits. This is paragraph number 7, by the way, the official court documents. While the group was on a county business trip, using the N-word and comparing African Americans to monkeys. This is the same people screaming racism. Folks, have you had enough of this damn bullshit? That's all it is. It's total bullshit. We've got to put a stop to this. We've got to get an audit. My bet is they don't have the authority by their own policy and shouldn't be doing. They should no way, unless there's been a raping of a child, an indictment, and an arrest, that somebody should be firing the county administrator on Monday. But I'll tell you what needs to be done is an investigation needs to be done. And they don't want one because Donna Johns, and I've got the document, has asked Quinn to investigate the stuff around Sandestin. And folks, the Sandestin DRI is the thread on the sweater that will make the emperor's clothes fall to the ground. And that's how it is on the Alan Osborne show. You can't make this shit up. And Fat Boy never, we got to get him out of office too, because he's related to these people and ain't going to do nothing but put on a show with your money. They're wasting millions. They're considering this drunk guy playing the kazoo to be your county administrator. And this shit's out of this world, isn't it, folks? That's how it is on the Alan Osborne show on a Saturday night, 11 November. Y'all can't make this shit up. Y'all keep them straight out there. You hear? Vote those people out. See ya.